We're going to get started. I'm Professor Melter, Faculty Advisor for Business Society, and along with Professor Murillo, we hope you enjoy Business Society this term. We have a couple of meetings coming up. The next one to put on your calendar is October 30th, and it's how to be a sales rep. So if you have interest in that, please do so. How many of you didn't sign the attendance sheet? Okay, this is going to come around, so please sign. And now I want to introduce Stephen Atkins, who's our speaker today. Stephen Atkins is a career and employment specialist for the Accelerated Study and Associate Program, that's ASAP. But before he joined Queensborough, he had a very different kind of career. And he's particularly well-positioned to talk about how to talk to people effectively. So I think you'll enjoy his presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Atkins. Thank you.
Everybody know the theme song, da 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 da. Everybody familiar with that? Anytime? Good. Anytime I have an opportunity to do any form of presentation, I always feel like I'm getting ready to go on the Johnny Carson show. And I kind of come running out to the seat and so forth. Just one of the things in my imagination and one of the fantasies that I had. Thank you, Professor Meltzer, Professor Murillo. I thank the Business Society for giving me an opportunity to come out today and speak on a topic that I've had to do a lot of working on and continuous work on throughout my career in business. My name is Stephen Atkins. Charles is my middle name. And actually, one of those things that usually happen within a presentation, they'll ask, something unique about you. Well, my name was originally going to be Charles Stephen. My father's name is Charles. And my mother didn't want to get confused by calling two Charleses because my father, or she had told me later on, my father already didn't respond to Charles. So if she said it twice, she'd have two non-responses. So she decided to name me Stephen Charles instead. So, and I love my name. It's a biblical name. I actually was talking with Professor Meltzer about that. Communicating effectively is something that myself and everyone in this room, has to work on a regular basis. Communicating effectively is something that is a continuous practice. There are different areas of communicating effectively. Now, for myself, emails are something that, if read by the sender, by the receiver, could be misinterpreted in so many different ways. That's one form of communication that I have to work a lot with here in the college here at Queensborough. I am the career and employment specialist for the ASAP program, as was mentioned. My background, however, was in business for over 20 years. I've been here at Queensborough now for the past 3, coming up on 4 years. But my background is in insurance sales with Allstate Insurance Company. Banking, I went from doing finance where I had to get Series 6, Series 7 licensing to sell financial instruments. I went into personal banking where I dealt primarily more with the individual client who was looking for different information in regards to how to work with their funds, whether it be from an investment standpoint or just the basics, saving your checking account, debit card, so forth. And then I moved into small business banking. And I really love doing small business banking. I did that for the past 4 years of my career in banking. And it was at that particular level that I had to do a lot of networking. So my area in regards to communicating effectively in my presentation is going to be from an aspect of networking. How many people are here aware or familiar with what networking is? What's your explanation of what networking is? That's one. You had your hand up? What's your definition of what networking might be?
I've obviously communicating with different individuals to income interest as far as career-wise or professional. Okay.
And what about you, young lady? What do you think? What do you think networking is all about?
Getting to know different people in different areas.
Okay. Networking actually has, can be a lot of different things. In my case, from the world I came from, small business banking, that's basically, I was in sales. So I went to a lot of events to meet new people, new business people who I was trying to attract them to the brand that I was selling, which could have been Chase or could have been Washington Mutual, which is the last bank that I worked at. So it was very important for me to attend a lot of these different events in order to bring on new clients, because part of my responsibility was to bring in new business and build up the revenues of the bank. But at the same token, in doing that, I built up my own revenues. So I had to have an ability to be able to walk within a room and be able to communicate effectively as to what my purpose and intention was to be there. Now, there are other types of networking events where it could be, like for Professor Meltzer, there could be a business society. She could be part of an organization within the business society where they have annual meetings or conferences where there'll be like-minded individuals in the room and everyone is having a conversation along that line. It's important to have an idea as to where you're going in order to prepare for the situation. So let's take a look at what it means to communicate effectively. Well, Anthony Robbins, people familiar with Anthony Robbins? Anybody at all? Okay, we have 2 people familiar with Anthony Robbins. He's a good guy to know. Anthony Robbins says to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide for our communication with others. So one of the things that I put up here was to ask yourself what motivates you. What motivates you in regards to, like, what do you want to do with, for this aspect of your career? What motivates you from that standpoint? What gets in the way of you communicating well? Well, for me, I get nervous. So I have to find a way to, like, press down the nerves that are going on that I'm actually having right now, but I have to press them down in order to still be able to deliver the message that I put together here that I'm hoping that you guys will receive and get something from. How do you like to receive information? What's important about that is getting an idea of who you are and how you like to receive information. Now, everyone's here, for the most part, attends classes. Now, some of you may be visual learners in regards to receiving information. Some of you may like to read your material in order to get that information. Some of you may be a combination of those 2 things. I put these things up here because it's important in order for you to be able to effectively communicate with others, you have to get an idea of who you are. So identifying what motivates you, what gets in the way of your communicating well, as I mentioned, for me, is about the nervousness. There are people who are introverts, there are people who are shy. They get real, like, they don't know what's going on. They get real jittery when they have to speak with people. So there's different things. You have to get an identification of who you are, and then how do you like to receive this information? I put this up here because I felt that was very important, because it's always it begins and ends with me in regards to how I develop who I am in order to be able to effectively communicate with others. So let these questions guide you this week in understanding others' perceptives and communicating more effectively. Now, I have no problem in taking any questions or any of the slides that come up or any of the things I may talk to you about. I'll be drinking water as we go along because my mouth gets very dry as I talk because no one else is saying anything in the room. And all of the eyes is on me and I have to do all the talking. So I get real dry in the mouth because I'm nervous. And this is part of what happens, but at the same token, it's important for me to be able to push past that. So one of the things that I'm happy about is that there's an ability to, as you're talking to people with the wireless mic on, that you can walk around and take a sip of water to dry your mouth, wet your mouth up a little bit in order to be able to then continue on. So, listening is an art form. Has anyone ever heard that statement before? Wow. No, seriously, no one's ever heard that statement? You've heard of it? No one else has heard that listening is an art form? You've heard. Why would you think listening would be considered an art form? Just off the top, what would your thoughts be in that regards?
Well, listening is very important when you communicate, because when you're receiving information, you're actually paying attention to someone, and it's really important to understand what that person is saying rather than what it goes off, and then if they ask you a point question, you'll be lost. You won't seem interested
you can do this because he was right on point. He was very on point with that, and thank you very much for that. Listening is an art form. It's very important to pay attention, but every good conversation starts with good listening, okay? In order for a conversation to begin, you have to listen in order to hear exactly, what's your name, young lady? Asma. I'm going to turn this over to her a little bit later on because she is a section of my presentation that's actually going to talk exactly what she said, so I'll probably turn it over to her during the course. So how well do you listen? How well do you listen? What did I just get finished saying?
It depends on if I'm focusing on. Like sometimes if I focus, I can listen like pretty well for all details. If I'm not here and I'm like somewhere else daydreaming, then I don't really.
What would cause something like that for you to happen? If you're like in an event like this or in a networking event, what would cause that?
And the speakers was really bored.
Am I boring already? Okay, all right.
Then or like they don't focus on their point, like they saying like if it's always helpful, then I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
I can't.
Fantastic. Young lady in the green top, tell us what your thoughts are in regards to how well do you listen?
I think I listen better if I'm more interested in the topic.
If you're interested in the topic. So you showed up here today, was there an interest in the topic for you?
Yeah, and I also have to go to your next workshop.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so how well do you listen? Okay. This is something from Ernest Hemingway. Now, I know everybody's familiar with Ernest Hemingway, right? Everybody in the room should be familiar with Ernest Hemingway. Well, Ernest Hemingway quoted, "I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen." And that's a very important statement. And I had thought about removing this particular piece of information, but I thought it was important to just have up here because Asma actually was talking about this. Concentrate on what the speaker is saying, both in words, voice inflections, rate of speech, and body language. Now, it's important to know that because based upon how the person is delivering the information will give you a lot as to who they are. Has anyone ever heard of slick oil salesmen? Anybody watch Western movies, old Western movies, and they got the snake oil salesmen? Well, those guys talk real quick and they're trying to like push something on you real fast. This is something that what this is pertaining to. Concentrate on what the speaker is saying because they're saying a lot. People, if you listen to them carefully enough, will tell you about themselves. If you listen to them. If you're not paying attention to what they're saying, you're not necessarily going to learn a lot about them. So it's important to listen, again, to the inflections, rate of speech, body language. Try not to think about what you're going to respond while being spoken to. This will cause a loss in concentration. Anybody have that friend that, and this is actually going to be the bottom one, but I thought to bring it up now. Anyone have that friend who likes to end your sentences for you? Because I have a few of them. You know, you'll be in the middle of a conversation, next thing you know, you get ready to finish it and they are jumping right in. You know, so if you were to ask that person, you know, what you really just got finished saying, they may not really have a clue as to what you talked about because they were so worried, they were so concentrated in what they were going to respond before they actually heard everything that was going on. So it's important to try not to think about what you're going to say. Listen to the entire conversation first, because that will give you all the information that you need to then be able to have a greater type of response because you would have gotten all of the information that you need in order to respond with the necessary information, whether that be here in school, whether that be amongst your friends, whether it be in, amongst even in a party or a networking event. Interact non-verbally with small gestures of verbal affirmations such as nodding your head, saying a brief comment such as "I see" or other words. That's an important thing to do. Wouldn't you guys agree? Mm-hmm. Yes. I see. So it's important, in order for me to know that you guys are even engaged in what I'm talking about, sometimes like, or a head nod if I looked at you and you was like, that lets me know that you're involved in what's going on today. Some of you may be fully, some of you may not be fully. But what my hopes is that there will be enough information here to help you know that while you're here at Queensborough, especially when it comes to your classes, that you are taking in the information that is so vital and important for you to be able to effectively communicate it back either to your professor or if you're a member of a club. How many people here are members of any clubs? Any club members here? Okay, so as members of clubs, it's very important. If you're an active participant in your club, it's very important for you to have an ability to communicate effectively because as a group of individuals, similar to a networking scenario, you have to have an ability to be able to get across what it is that you're trying to put forth in whatever message it is that you have. So do not repeat, do not interrupt or finish the other person's sentences. This puts your focus on your words rather than the person speaking with you. How are you today?
I'm good.
You good? How was your day so far? Besides that, anyway, make sense? Has anyone ever had that situation? Because does anyone really care what's going on with you? Sometimes they really just want to get their story out. Is that true? Because I really want to do that. So tell me a little bit about you. I really don't want to know about that right now because I really need to share with you some information about what's going on with me today. But what classes are you taking? But actually, you know what happened? I'm overemphasizing it, but I'm hoping that you get the point of what I'm saying because that happens on a regular basis. You know, when you ask someone, you know, how are you doing? Do you really want to know? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Because you really want to talk about what you want to talk about. Okay, but that's just the reality of how things go at times. But try not to interrupt the person because it is actually disrespectful, it's kind of rude, and you're really not paying attention to them. So again, it goes back to the very first slide. It's very important for you to get an idea of you. What we're talking about today has a lot to do with what are called soft skills and what I do for a living, which is career advisement. Developing interpersonal skills, the ability to communicate. Again, it is an art form and it's something that has to be worked on a regular basis. To ask or answer, that is the question. How do you get more than a yes or no? How do I get more than a yes or no when I ask a question? Open-ended questions. Who's familiar with open-ended questions? Young lady, give me an open-ended question. Anything.
But if you ask someone, like, what did the teacher go over lesson 6 and
It's a pretty good example because you're opening it up for the other person to be able to fill in the gaps in order to provide information for you in order to get what you need from the situation. So in your case, it was finding out what was discussed in the class. You missed that class, I guess, huh? Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards, okay? But it is important, in order to not get a yes or a no answer, it's important for you to ask questions that are going to reveal more than yes or no. So, if I come to you and say, did the Mets win last night?
I don't know. Yes, they did actually.
A yes?
Yes.
Yes, that's all. That's all I got, yes. Because of the way I asked the question. Did the Mets win last night? I'm not asking him to expand on anything because of the way I presented the question. However, in what way did the Mets lose that or win that game last night? What happened? If you hadn't watched the game.
Dan Murphy hit a 3-run home run.
That gave me more than a yes answer. So you understand where I'm coming from with this. How did you? In what way did? Tell me about. These are the types of questions that you can begin a conversation with, open-ended, in order to facilitate more information for yourself. So it's important. This is just like a brief. Again, this presentation is to give you a general overview and brief information. There's a lot more involved in this. I like to talk, though I get nervous at talking, but I like to talk. So I actually probably keep y'all here for 2-3 hours. Now, what would probably happen, I'd have to probably turn the air conditioning up to keep y'all from falling asleep on me. That's probably the only thing that have to happen. But there's a lot involved in understanding. And these are things that you have to practice doing. Because a lot of times, the types of questions that we ask of individuals usually wind up being those yes or no type questions. We usually don't even pay attention to the fact that we're asking a question to solicit more information. But the ones that we do ask are what are called open-ended questions in order to bring forth more information in order to get resolved what it is that you need to know. So when I ask Professor Murillo in regards to the Mets, I can either get something of a yes or a no, or I can get what actually happened during the game so he can paint a picture for me as to what happened. And that's what you're looking for with open-ended questions. You want a person to paint a picture for you as to what happened, what you're trying to get from them. You want a picture painted for yourself in regards to that. I'm doing pretty good on time. Now, the last slide talked about how to ask open-ended questions. Now, there are times where you're going to be asked an open-ended question. How do you go about dealing with that?
It's all about how you phrase it.
Oh, but this is what I do if y'all didn't notice. I don't answer all the questions. You guys have a lot of answers in you that you may not really truly be aware of. Well, what do you think in regards to how do you answer an open-ended question?
Expand on what they asked. Okay.
That's part of it. One of the students in ASAP.
More information, like what do you know?
Give me an example. How did you do?
Like let's say this discussion here, this workshop or this meeting here.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say if I go out and somebody asks me like, what happened, what did you discuss, what the speaker discussed. So like I explain the details.
Okay. How would you go about doing that and keeping it very concise without going like this?
Some key points.
Anybody know what APE stands for? Anybody know what KISS stands for? Okay. Everybody know what KISS stands for, right? Okay. Okay. This particular, the APE is actually a method that's utilized actually within classrooms, but it also can be effectively utilized during networking events. A stands for answer the question, okay? I think it was you, I think it was you who said expand. Somebody said, you said expand, okay. That's actually the third part of it. Use the information that was provided to you, which is proofing, which is the P. So as you were sharing with us, you would take the information that you got keynotes, and you would use the information provided to be able to answer the question. Now, what you can do, which is the E part of it, is expand or make an opinion or connection and then come up with a summary from that. So if you were going to discuss this particular workshop, part of what you would do is, one, get the question. What happened? What was that workshop all about? Well, it was about communicating effectively. Okay, that's one. That's the answering the question. Then what he discussed, different tools and techniques, what open-ended questions were, and things of that nature, and how to conduct yourself in different types of situations when it comes to communicating effectively. And then at the end of it all, you provide a summary. And that could be something like, I believe X, whatever you discuss, I believe this to be because, and now you're providing your own opinion in that regards, okay? So does it make sense in regards to if a question is asked of you, you take what was first given to you. So if I'm having a conversation with you, like, I went out to this art exhibit last night, and the artist, I kind of found his stuff very interesting. It was lines, but it didn't seem to make sense for the amount of money they were charging for some of the art. But I found it so interesting that I was drawn to it. How would you explain that with the APE method? Because you went with me.
How would I explain it? I was finding it pretty much with first emphasizing on the art exhibit itself, and the painting, the actual emphasizing on the lines that you were so fascinated with, and the cost.
And then how would you sum it up for yourself? Because you were there too. So you may.
My own opinion on.
And what would that opinion have been for you hypothetically?
Hypothetically, I would like, it would be, I had a wonderful time with going, enjoying.
Of course you did.
Of course, I went with you.
Absolutely.
So we had a wonderful time. We took part in the subway. We had a hot dog at Great Papayas, and then we went to the art museum. And I was astonished by all the pictures and all the paintings and the lines, the magnification of the coloring. But the cost, however, it's unfortunately it was a little high for a museum. And that was my experience.
Right. Now, I was getting ready to do what I just said not to do another slide, interrupt. My apologies to you. Because you have to be, again, it's about me being also mindful about the things that I'm talking to you about. So I don't do this perfectly, just to be clear about it, though, most of the time. But anyway, but it's important for myself to be in tune with myself about what I'm getting ready to do, because at the end of it, it could have been a thing for you to say, well, I believe the cost of the paintings were because of whatever your opinion may have been. Okay. Now, another way to look at this is, who could tell me what KISS stands for? Yes. Huh? Okay. Now, I'm in a fraternity, and they're not that nice. But the clean version is keep it simple, stupid. That's the version I got. That's what you got too? Keep it simple, stupid. Because sometimes what can happen is, and I can only explain this from my past experiences and how I had to evolve from that. Sometimes I'm around people who are maybe a little bit more educated than I. They use what I call $5 words in their vocabulary, where I'm usually using 50-cent words and $1 words. So I kind of get caught up in, oh wow, So I need to try to stand in there with them. And I don't have a whole lot of $5 words in my vocabulary. So I'm trying to do something more than what I am. I had to evolve from that, because I would use words completely out of context. And that's the worst thing on the planet to do. A word is a great word, that's a great word. I want to use it right now in a sentence. And you get ready to say it, and you say the sentence, and then you get that look like, because I use it all out of context, because I'm trying to be more than what I am at that time. So keep it simple, stupid, for me. Because it's important for me to stay within myself and get across an opinion that I have that is valid. Everyone's opinion is valid because it's yours. No one can take away your opinion. But the greatest thing to do in keeping it simple is be open-minded to what others have to say to hear it, because it can advance who you are and where you are at the time. So that's part of what I decided to do. I kept it simple, but I also listened, because I knew that by listening, I would learn more. And that's where the concept for me was, the more I know is the more I know. So I always wanted to educate myself. So when it comes to communicating, again, we're going to always go back to the fact that it's important to listen. The more we listen, the more we learn. How we doing so far? How am I doing so far? Can somebody give me an honest appraisal? Fantastic. My man. But we hung out, though. I treated you to papayas. My man with the Miami Heat's hat. How are things going for you today? You all right? Give me a little bit about what you believe you've taken so far out of this presentation.
I don't know, how to express and how to talk to other people, what to listen when I'm talking to somebody,
Okay.
To wait for all the information come in and then think about it and answer.
My man, I love it. I love that. I love that. So we talked about this part, talked about that. Now, there comes a point in time where you enter a room and you see all these people in it. If there's no friendly face, what do? You see no friendly faces in the room. What would you normally do?
You stay innocent.
The what?
What should I
Like, you're going to a networking event, because my presentation is based upon my experience, which is going into networking events. So I'm going to walk into a room, it's going to be a room filled of people. I know what I'm there for, but there's a whole bunch of people and I don't see a friendly face in the room. What would you do? What would be your reaction? Would it be to walk amongst and join in something, or kind of stay back and kind of watch? Or sit somewhere in a corner so nobody really sees you? You know, like how Flo, you ever watch the Progressive commercial? You ever see, anybody see the Progressive commercial with Flo? And she steps in the shadow and says, "You can't see me," and the guy says, "You can." I'm the only guy who saw that commercial, come for real? But what would be your position with those three options? You would go about and engage and introduce yourself? Okay.
If not, that would be so awful. Like the whole group of people, they're looking at you so unfriendly, then you have to break the ice. Once you break the ice, they have some reaction to you as well. If you keep them back, then it will keep forever. Like.
Okay. Who would do opposite? What's your name? Queenie? Who would do the opposite of Queenie? Let's be honest in here. Come on. Hi. What would be your position?
I would sit back and like observe them. I
Yeah.
wouldn't just jump in.
You wouldn't?
I would just sit back and watch
And what are you watching for?
to see like the vibe of everybody, how they was going on.
Okay. The question I have for you to follow that up, why did you go to the event? Now remember, my presentation is based on networking. So I gave a couple of examples in regards to, like, for myself as well as for Professor Meltzer. What would be your reasoning for going that you would kind of want to vibe it out first?
Well, my initial reason for going would be to network.
I'm sorry, again?
My initial reason for going would be to network.
Okay. So the reason for sitting back in the vibe, what are you kind of like looking for? Because I identify with that because I've done that. I'm going to tell my story as soon as you tell me yours.
Well, I would just see like how like other people interact with each other, so I just don't jump in and I'm like not familiar with what's really going on, and I'm just crazy.
So again, I had to evolve in many ways. So I've already told you the story about the person who had the $5 words and I had the 50-cent words and the dollar words, and how I was like, you know, I wanted to be all, you know, trying to fit in and so forth. Well, early on, I would kind of sit back and just watch everybody and then start talking about them. Talk about everybody in the room. Had nothing good to say about anybody. Look at that one. He think he all that. He ain't nobody. I'm just watching the room, not doing nothing for the purpose of what I got there for, and it was because I was scared. It had more to do with me being scared than anything else. So I kind of hung back. And then I had to come to a realization that I have to find a way to be able to put myself in a position to be able to engage with others who are there, because I came there for a reason. Now, I was doing this because prior to my life in the financial world and banking, I was involved in music. And I would go on events, and that's when I was doing just that, just watching folks, because I would be amongst, be some pretty heavy hitters, you know, and I would just, you know, part of it was because I wasn't where they were, so part of it also was envy and jealousy, that I would like. But then it had to come to a point, if I want to be where they are, I have to start being able to interact with them. I have to find a way to do this. So these are some ways that you can look into engaging in a conversation with someone. So, what do you think that first one means?
Go fishing at the pool table.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that one's all about?
I honestly, I don't know.
Anybody?
But I know, like, find a loner.
We're gonna come back to you on that one.
I would probably say go fishing at the food table is pretty much kind of just wait and scope out pretty much the individuals there in order to spark conversation based on common interest or maybe just a personal interest. Like that.
Okay.
That's what I do sometimes.
So I'm in the line waiting for some food. Somebody in front of me. Wow, those Swedish meatballs look kind of good. I think I'm gonna have some. What do you think? What are you looking at? What do you think about having? Boom, conversation started. So that's one way that you can engage in a conversation, and then from sparking that conversation with that person, they may have a group of people that's there with them. Now I'm gonna follow them for a little while and meet some of his people. That's gonna allow me to, because the ice has already been broken with one, now I'm gonna allow that person I broke the ice with to break the ice with me amongst all the others. I don't have to do this twice. So that's one way of looking at it. Tell me about finding a loner. Thank you for the spell check. I don't like you right now. Find a loner.
Find a loner. Basically, when someone is lonely, to your advantage, you go up to them and start a conversation with them.
How would you do that?
I mean, I do that.
Huh?
I do that.
You do that?
Yeah.
Give me one of your opening lines.
Military, for example. I'd be sitting alone and doing my work, and the last semester I saw someone sitting at home doing the same thing as I was, and it was Arabic. So I just go up to her and we come and I talk about Arabic, the class that I'm taking. So then we just started talking about other things. So that's how I started.
That's perfect. Come on. I can't do this no more. Come on. Actually, that's a beautiful example. Now, in the course of a networking event, there may be someone who's sitting way back there. How you doing? That's my loner right there for this particular situation. So if I was over here, kind of like surveying the room, I want to work my way through the crowd, I'm gonna go up. And I may say, these networking events are kind of crazy. Look at all these people in here. I need to get some quiet because there's just too much noise going on. You mind if I join you? Boom. Hopefully the person will say yes. And you'll sit down with them and then start a little conversation from there. If that's a way for you to break your own ice in order to then move further into the crowd, this is a perfect example of how to go do that. Identify someone who may be similar to you. Feeling kind of like the original question, you walk in the room, there's a lot there, what are you gonna do? If you're kind of on the loner side, you wanna kind of survey the room, one of the best ways to go about doing that is find someone who's similar to you who may be surveying the room, sparking a conversation with them. For me, that's something that I've done, and it kind of helps ease the tension in my body so that then I can move into the crowd and begin developing conversations with other individuals. Compliment them. Caveat, be careful. Be careful. Because at events, you're meeting men and women. Now, I can go up to a guy, how you doing? Nice shoes, we good. Same thing, walk up to a woman, nice shoes. Based upon where she may be in that moment, she may not receive that well. Because remember, part of it is the inflection. So I'm going back to what I had talked about before. You're watching, your body says a lot about where you are in the moment. The inflection of your voice, the tone, nice shoes. Whereas, hi, how are you? Oh, very nice shoes. A little less come on-ish. Whereas, my eyes are changing. Nice shoes. Now, she's watching me, so my eyes are going from the top to the bottom and back up again. So I'm being viewed. So you got to be careful in that in regards to what is your motive. That's what it kind of boils down to. What's your motive in introducing yourself? Especially if you, from a man's perspective, introducing themselves to a woman, you have to know what your motive is. But there's always a way of being able to spark up some form of conversation and complimenting a person. They can have, I'm a cufflink fiend. I love cufflinks. So if I see a pair of cufflinks on a man, I'm like, those are great cufflinks. Where'd you get them from? That's going to be my introduction to having a conversation with someone. So by complimenting them, also getting some information as to where they got the cufflinks, because I'm a cufflink fiend, that's a way to begin a conversation. Who loves sports here? You like sports? I love you. My best friend is a woman. Her name is Donna. She's a sports fiend. Giants fan. She has a Toyota RAV4. She got the headrest Giant things. She has the spare tire with the Giant things. Beautiful. Talking sports is a great way to have an icebreaker as well. As I did earlier, Professor Murillo, you know, did you see that Yankee game last night? Oh, man. And if he's a Red Sox fan, you're not a Red Sox fan, are you? No. Thank you. Because we, you know, immediately I'm having a fight with him. And the focus, I'm going to forget all about my networking event and focus on him because he's a Red Sox fan. And my whole day is defeated because I need to argue with this young person, this one person about. Oh. But talking sports is another way that you can introduce and have an icebreaker with someone. Just develop it. This way is kind of is common ground, having a conversation. Who's a boxing fan here? Got only a couple of boxing fans? You saw the Mayfield Anello fight? You saw it? You see it? Saw that fight? So I ran into a friend of mine before the day before the fight, and he asked me, you know, who you pulling for? I said, anybody who will knock Floyd Mayweather on his butt. I respect Floyd Mayweather, just do not like the cat. I just don't. He's a great fighter, I give him respect. Similar to the Boston Celtics. I can't stand the Boston Celtics because they always beat my Knicks in the playoffs. But they had a great team, so I gave them respect. But the point of the matter is that you can have a very lively conversation with someone by introducing sports into the conversation, which is a light subject. And because you're a professional, you'll be able to conduct yourself in a way of, you know what, I really don't like the Celtics, but I respect them. And you can still be able to have a conversation with them. How we doing so far? Everybody okay? You want to get up and stretch real quick? Nobody want to get up and stretch? Anybody want a slice of pizza? Okay. Okay. So these are a couple more that I thought it was very good to introduce as well. The classics. When in doubt, to try the basics. Asking what someone does. Why are you here? What do you do for a living? Very easy, very simple going, very direct. It's something that you can definitely utilize to, again, break the ice with individuals that you're attending a networking event with. Who here is familiar with Eminem? The rapper Eminem. Who knows the first song that he introduced that brought about his career? Anybody? Hi, my name is what? My name is, you don't know that song? For real? Am I dating myself that bad? For real? No one knows Eminem like that? You know the song? Thank you. That's the easiest way. Hi, my name is Stephen Atkins. How are you today? What brings you here? That's one of the easiest things to do when it comes to having an icebreaker with someone. But at the same token, you have to feel confident about you too. So if you try some of the other tips, so if you were a loner by chance, you find another loner, that kind of helps you build up a little confidence. Now you can go into the crowd. Hi. You don't have to do anything fancy. Hi, my name is. And then begin the conversation from there. And then utilizing some of the tips here. Location, no matter what, you've got at least a couple of things in common with every person in the room. Use that to your advantage by striking up a conversation about what's going on around you. If you see something crazy going on, be wary of enhancing the negative that may be going on. Try to find something positive that's going on with the room that you can have that conversation. Or even if you live within the area. Location, location, location. That's also a strong business piece of your business model when it comes to if any of you decide to ever go into business for yourself, become entrepreneurs. Location, location, location. Not only for networking events, but also for planning, opening your business. Where's it going to be located? Because again, it's an icebreaker as well as in that aspect because you want people to know where you're located. If people know where you're located, they're always going to talk about you. Same thing when it comes to a networking event. You could talk about the location. Do you live within the vicinity of this area? I like this area. I'm going to be, I'm thinking about looking at it. Do you live out here? Another way of introducing a conversation to someone. Anybody got any of their own original lines in regard to how they would break the ice? Anybody? No one? No one? How about you? I told you I'm not going to answer all the questions. What do you think? Give me something that would be good for you based upon the information that's provided so far as regards to how you would break the ice in the conversation. Anything.
Like when we like listening, like be carefully so we.
Okay. Good to go. I would like to talk with you. And the reason I would like to talk to you because I could tell that you're kind of on the shy side, a little bit, right? I would like to talk with you about that. We're not going to do it in this moment, but for me, even when I come to these events, I like to see if I can identify things that I could offer to someone that could potentially could help them. So when you leave here, you take away something. It's important to me that everyone in here take away something that helped them, so when they leave this room, they have the opportunity to utilize it in another fashion. So I'm always looking for those things. Even when I was in the in business, I kept business cards. I was throwing business cards around everywhere. Everyone had one of my business cards at one point, I felt. Okay, where are we? So we talked about how to engage in the conversation. Now, the art of a conversation. What's important, and we kind of already touched on some of these things. What's important, we have on the left side, the do's, on the right side, the don'ts. Listen more than you talk. Now, as I said earlier, if you know about the type of event you're going to, you should already have an idea and be prepared walking into that event as to the type of conversation you want to talk about. So for myself, when I was in small business banking, I may have wanted to know as much information about the interest rate of small business loans or commercial lending loans at the time, because of the event I was going to had owners of construction businesses. So I want to talk to them because they're going to be building new projects, and their primary interest in borrowing money is how much is it going to cost them to pay back if they borrow the money from me. So I want to know. I need to have that information available. So one of the topics and what I need to walk in the door with is a good, solid knowledge of what the interest rates are for whatever periods that may be conducive to their particular needs. Tailor the conversation to the listener. So what I'm sharing with you in regards to me knowing what the interest rates, because I'm going to a networking event that's going to include construction builders, I need to have some kind of strong information that's going to tailor to them that they will listen to me, and I will be able to have a strong conversation with them about it. Take your turn. So remember when I was talking with you earlier, and we were having a conversation and you were talking, and I kept cutting you off? You remember that? Yeah. Okay. I was trying to cut him off again. I think he caught me on that one. Take your turn. Don't hog a conversation. A person in a group of individuals, if they find you're hogging the whole thing, you're talking about this, you're just talking and talking and talking. Eventually it becomes Charlie Brownish. Wah, 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 wah. That's what usually happens. Because a person is just talking way too much and just taking over the whole thing. The only person that would probably allow that for me if I was in an event, if I was hanging out with President Obama. Go ahead and talk, brother. I'm going to listen all day. I'll have no problem with something like that. So it's always important, look at your surroundings as well. But for the most part, when we're in an event, you shouldn't hog the whole conversation. Think before you speak. Real important. Now there's times that I used to, and again, I had to do a lot of growing up and getting a better understanding as to how to approach people, talk with them, because I'm very opinionated. And someone would say something and I had this opinion on it. And I would say something and I would get that look. And I'm like, oh man, I put my foot in my mouth again. So it's important for me, it became important for me to listen, pause, and then speak. This is the same information I give to students that I work with in regards to interviewing. Listen, pause, then speak. Put your thoughts together first. If you weren't sure of what you heard, you can just ask the question back. Or what was that comment you made, in order to hear again, so that you can, when it's your turn to speak, you've heard everything you need to hear, so you don't say something completely outlandish to someone, okay? Now, of the things that you don't do, don't interrupt. We talked about that. Don't talk to any just one person in the room when you're amongst a group of people. So, man, listen, I got to get out of here in a few minutes, and there's so many folks up in here, But are you having a pretty good time today?
Yeah, I am.
You all right?
Very informative.
Good. I'm very happy that you're getting, because I'm getting some information out of this as well.
Oh, good.
So, my bad. I'm sorry. That happens. Has anyone ever been in a crowd, in a circle of people, and this one person just talking to this one other person, and leaving everybody else out? See, I walk away from those. I'm out, because that serves no purpose. Because you're being rude now, and actually in a networking set, you'll kind of get blacklisted, because people can read while you're there. People can see when you come into the room and all you're trying to do is take, and just take from the room and not give anything back to it. So when you're just dealing with one person having this conversation, those other people can kind of tell what you're all about. And again, I'm giving you my experience from being in banking and business. When I only spoke to one person in a circle amongst others, that means that was a person that I thought I could get a deal with. So I focused all my attention on that person and left everybody else out. They didn't feel as important. So when I finally did get around to them, they was like, oh, yeah, they were gone. So it's important not to just, if you're in a group of people, you gotta try to work that entire little circle of yours in that moment. Don't engage in one-upping. Who has that friend that you tell a story and they gotta try to tell a better one? Everybody's hand don't go up in that one? Everybody don't have a friend like that? Oh, I got a few of those guys. We'll start telling we start telling stuff about back in the day, and it'll be a story they'll tell about me, and then my man B, he'll have to want to tell a story about what happened with him over. When you're in a group, in a networking event, or even just having a conversation amongst other people, don't one-up someone. That doesn't really make you look any better, okay? And part of my background also, I had to do a lot of stuff in understanding the psychology of people. And it's important to have an understanding of the psychology of people. And a lot of times when someone wants to one-up you, and I identify, because I used to do it. So I'm not talking about anything that I have not ever done in my life. I want it to be, first and foremost, I want to watch me. Pay attention to what I have to say. So whatever he just said, I got something better for you. That doesn't work. And it actually had to do more, again, with my own fear base. I wanted to be accepted. That's the psychology of people. And it's important to get an understanding of that so that you know what you're working with. So that's an important attribute to take on. And don't overshare. Don't start telling somebody about, how your wife or your girlfriend's not treating you right, or don't give a whole lot of unnecessary information to people. Because in all honesty, they're trying to hear it anyway. Don't overshare. Don't tell your whole life story to someone. If you want to have that kind of conversation with someone after the event is over and done with, you exchange business cards with them, you can ask them, would you mind if I call you? I felt a good connection with you. Would you mind if I give you a call? They say yes, get their number, and then you can go about developing that relationship with them in another type of venue, but not at an event, whether it be any form of networking event. You don't want to do that. Don't overshare, because again, now you're taking up time, and then you're usually focused. And if you're talking amongst a group and you're trying to take over the conversation, people are going to remember that. So during the course of the day, when they see you coming, it's that cross the street syndrome. I'm getting out of that person's way. Okay? One of the other things that I want to talk to you about what don't do is you're in the middle of a conversation and you're like, yeah, just give me a little bit of time, okay? I'll be there in a little while, and you're still here. Having a full-fledged conversation on your cell phone. Or like this, yeah. They're gonna see you again. They're going to the other side of the street. This thing is dangerous because everyone's walking around like this. I'm walking around campus, that's all I'm seeing. People's heads are down in their phone. These are dangerous. I have this phone because my daughter shamed me into getting it. I'm good with as long as it makes a phone call, I had a flip. She was cursing me out. But be conscious of things like that too. Turn your phone off. My phone is off. Turn it off and keep it away. And if you feel that you're the person that has to have your phone on you all the time, leave it in your car. Put it in the glove box. Don't bring it with you to be tempted. Because again, you're not focusing on what's going on, and people pay attention. When you least expect it, someone's watching you. They're watching you. So be conscious of this. All right. Anybody familiar with Carol Burnett? Nobody watches the old people channel? Carol Burnett used to sing a song, I'm so glad we had this time together to share a laugh or sing a song. Though when we just get started, we have to say so long. That was one of I love Carol Burnett. I love that particular song. So I thought the title of this one, I'm so glad we had this time together, because now it's time to end the conversation. How do we go about doing that? And we just someone give me an idea as to how they would end the conversation. What you have done to end the conversation. Has anyone just walked away? Anyone? No one has just walked away from the conversation. Come on. Nobody? You just, I'm out. Or just walked out. I'm with you. I understand. I've been there. I understand. Now, just the opposite, I like to argue. I love the debate. So I would have stood there toe to toe like I would have if he was a Red Sox fan. Lost all focus on the whole event and been talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees. Who would have just went and shook the person that they felt they had the most comfort within that group? Who would just shake that one or two person's hand of the group of five? Anybody? The reason I ask that question is because, again, from the psychology of people can usually within a group connect with one or two. It's rare if it's a group of five, will they connect with all five. It's usually one or two people in that group that they'll feel real comfortable and confident with. And they'll wind up just, it was nice meeting you. And then kind of like get to, if the other person on the other side, they'll go over here and shake their person's hand too and leave the other three out of it. Excuse me. Bad thing to do. Because again, remember, based upon the reason that you're there, you may run into those people again somewhere. And it could be years later, they will remember how you walked away and didn't shake their hand. They will remember it, because I do. I remember stuff like that. It'd be years later, I won't know nothing else about you, but wasn't you at such and such event? I'm going to remember that. So how do we end the conversation? Wrong slide. The way we can end the conversation is first be mindful to the fact of how much time. And again, my presentation is based on networking events. So how do we end the conversation? Well, one of the first things is that a networking event is for the purpose of networking with people in the entire room. So if I spent some time in this group here, I should not spend any more than 3 to 5 minutes here, because I need to move over here to interact with you guys to get some information or let you know who I am. I need to then move over here. I need to be moving and working the room. Anybody ever heard the word work the room before? No one? Ever heard okay. That's what networking events are about. It's about working the room. Getting around to as many people as you possibly can So you can introduce yourself, you can find out a little bit about them, because the purpose of networking, for me, is a selfish one. I need to know what I can either offer to you or what you may have in return, that we could potentially get together and do something that's going to be of benefit to both of us. That's my purpose when I go to networking events. What can I do for you, but also what can you do for me? So like in the role that I have with ASAP, I try to develop relationships with people on campus as well as off campus to try to identify opportunities that I can possibly present to the students. If I'm able to present those, I've developed a relationship, I've identified a potential student who I believe would be a good fit for that individual. That gives them something viable to work with to fit their need, but it helped me establish a relationship with them that I'm going to get more opportunities to bring more people to them. Because part of my responsibility is to be able to open up avenues and doors. As a career advisor, I don't believe in bouncing around from major to major. You're not going to get your answers in just sitting in, well, I'm not good in math, so I'm going to change over to this, or I'm going to change over to that. That doesn't necessarily work, but getting some practical education in the career path that you're considering serves a much more better basis. So I deviate a little bit just to tell you about a little bit how I look at things in that regard. But after you spend 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes with amount of time and talking with people, it's about shaking everyone's hand. It was a pleasure meeting you all. I have to leave now. If you have your business cards, which you should always have, hand out your business card. Shake everybody's hand, then move into the next area. Go back on the food line. Meet your next set of people. Go back and find somebody who's sitting at the table by themselves. Start a conversation with them. Whatever it takes to be able to move around and work the room is what you want to do. You don't ever want to spend an abundant amount of time standing in one place with any particular one set. So like, whoever goes to those parties, you go with a group of your friends, and there's going to be some other people there, but you wind up sitting with your friends only. Never work the room. Don't meet anybody else in the room. Right? I go to a party, I'm sitting at your table, I'm coming to your table, I'm coming, whatever tables are in the room, I'm going to sit at different tables because I like to meet people. The funny thing is I don't like people. That's the funny thing. People get on my nerves. People do. But I know I get on their nerves too. So it's okay. But the point of the matter is I'm going to work the room because that's part of my makeup. That's part of who I am. I want to know people because it's important, especially for the role that I am in now in career services, to meet people because I want to identify potential opportunities for students. So I want to work the room. So if you go to a party, practice doing something different than what you normally do. Go have a seat at another person's table of people you don't know and introduce yourself. We just got some icebreakers as to how to go about doing that. Try something a little bit different. And the only way to really become more effective in communicating is to practice and doing something different than what you already do. That's the only way. If you don't break up the monotony, it's going to stay like a flat line, because that's what I'm used to doing. So it's going to stay a flat line. Try something different. Actually, when you go to your next class today, don't sit in the same area you normally sit in. Sit somewhere else. See how it feels. Don't sit in the back no more. Come join the crowd. So just try something a little bit different, okay? Now, I cannot pronounce Professor Vicky's last name, and I'm not going to attempt. Kasamanakis, okay. She had put this on what she wanted me to talk about, antagonistic sentences, how not to use them. Anybody familiar with what that is? Anybody have an idea? Who here has ever been antagonized before? Anybody been antagonized before? You?
Isn't that when somebody opposes you?
Say again?
Isn't that when somebody opposes you?
Yes. Now I knew how I can be antagonistic. I know I can. So let's say you're at an event and you're talking with a few people, and let's say they had a nice spread of food, but they had no salad. They didn't think about the vegetarian, and you're a vegetarian. And you're amongst us, all these people, and they're talking about how great the food is. Well, they didn't think about the vegetarian. They ain't had nothing for me, and this is what I like to eat. That's a way of antagonizing a situation that doesn't really make any sense, okay? Or even in this case, pizza. I wanted some Swedish meatballs today. I didn't want to spend no money for no lunch today. All they had was pizza. Where's the salad? I like to have salad with my food. That's another way of antagonizing a situation that doesn't make any sense to do so. You don't want to be that person, because you will be remembered for that. You'll be remembered for being an antagonistic individual. You'll be and also that person who, if you had a group of people in a group and you held them hostage with everything you had to say, you'll be that person who want up everything someone else had to say. You'll be that person. Don't be that person. You don't want to be that person. So be mindful of the fact, like I shared with you earlier, I'm very opinionated, but I have to really think about what I'm getting ready to say before I say it, because I can say something very antagonistic to a situation that didn't really need it, and then it's going to cause a bad light on me. Don't have the light shining on you, literally or not. Don't have that happen to you. I don't have a lot of examples of that, but I'm pretty sure what the examples I did give, some of you guys can think of some situations that you may have been in where you were antagonistic about what was going on because you just didn't like it. It wasn't going the way you wanted it to go. How come he didn't do this? With the DJ, he sucks. Meanwhile, the whole floor is packed, and you on the side just because he didn't play your song. He sucked. But the crowd is moving, So little things like that are what are considered antagonistic. So again, I'm going to always bring it back to the fact that it's about me. It always begins and ends with me, no matter what. One of the things, and I'm glad I touched this. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about in regards to Icebreakers. If any of you are part of any organization, I'm a big proponent to joining clubs, being part of organizations, because one, they help on things of what this particular presentation is about, helping you with your communication skills. Become active in a club. Find a club that either you have an interest in, that can help you insofar as towards your career goals, but be an active participant. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of a fraternity. My fraternity is called Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Our organization started at Howard University in 1914, January 9th. It's coming up on our 100 years. So I wore this pin today, and I'm going to tell you what I wore it for the purpose of sharing with you that if you're a part of an organization and you have a pin for your organization, wear it. Because you never know who's going to be in the room who may either be a part of the same organization or has an affiliation with a similar type of organization where you can, again, break the ice. It just so happened today I was at the Bursar's office, and I was working with one of my colleagues, and I walked out and came back in, and a young man by the name of Ricardo came and introduced me and reached his hand out and shook my hand with this, began shaking my hand like he knew about my organization. I'm like, yo, who are you? He said, what's up, frat? And he gave me a handshake. And he said, you're the first brother I met since I've come back to New York. So you never know who you may meet just by simply wearing something that you're an active participant in. Remember, if you're going to be a part of something, be a part of it. Don't just have it, on your name, on your resume for the purposes of having it on there and can't really talk anything about it. Be a part of it. How we doing? We good? Everybody's okay? Who did I bore today? Tell me the truth, because see, I always look to improve myself. So did I bore anybody? Nobody? I ain't bore you, Miss Anderson? You sure? He left already? All right. I like that. So in conclusion, as I said from the very beginning, know yourself. It's important for you to get a better understanding of self. Don't walk around not knowing who you are. Okay, is a very important element about just being on the planet. It's a very important part of understanding where you're trying to go, who you're trying to be, And it's very important to get an aspect and understanding of you, okay? Because people look at you. Now, it's not right to judge, but that's what we do. We judge. And people are gonna judge you by how you do certain things, how you get down, how you speak to them, how you interact with them. So it's good for you to know yourself and always try to find ways to improve who you are, okay? I work on a continuous basis about trying to get a better understanding of me, because I'm complicated in my own world most of the time. So I have to do a lot of work just on me. So I want to continue to do that. And I have to practice. So when I talked about being nervous, I'm still nervous right now. But I have to find ways of getting through that. And you notice I haven't drank that much water yet, right? I've been doing pretty good because I kind of got into a little bit of flow now. But it's about practicing as well. You got to practice these things. This workshop is not going to end everything and give you all the answers you need. It's about taking the information that you've gotten from this thing today and practice it. You got to go out and practice. So that's why I say, change the seat that you sit in, when you go to a class. Change the seat. Introduce yourself to someone just for the purpose of introducing yourself. Try to find a way to introduce yourself to more people. Now, in the program of ASAP, for which I'm the career and employment specialist, I try to share with students to, when they sit down with me in a group setting, I'll ask them, do you know such and such? Well, how come? You're in the same program. You should have some idea of some of the people who are in the program with you. And I get them to shake hands and introduce themselves so that in the future, when they see them, at least they can walk by. Something. But it's important to do some things different than what you normally do. If you're on the shy side, it's very important to try to do that because you gotta start working towards breaking out of that because it's important for your ability to interact with people as much as possible. Most importantly, be natural and genuine. I work at just being who I am. This is who I am 98% of the time. I like to crack jokes, I like to say stupid stuff. My daughter thinks I'm insane. She says I'm corny. Half the time I probably am to her, but within my age group, I'm cool. So, just be who you are, be natural. But again, know self. Find out as much as you can about yourself, and then the natural self of you will come through. You won't have to worry about the person's having the $5 words and all you got is dollar words. They're all of value. They're all of a value. I want to really thank you for giving me the time today to speak with you. I'm hopeful that you have taken something from here that you can continue to work on as you leave this room today. And if there are any questions, any concerns, anything that you weren't clear about, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. If anyone would like to have a copy of the presentation, they can see Professor Meltzer, and I will get a copy to her, and then she can forward it to you guys. But I was very happy. I hope I did a pretty decent job for you guys, and I hope that I got across the information that I had lined up to get across to you. And again, I thank you so much. And in the words of Russell Simmons, God bless you and good night.